the forum. Thank you, colleagues. I'm going to call the meeting of the Public Works Committee to order Tuesday, January 7th at 4:30. First, just by way of a brief chair report, I want to follow up with some questions that have been asked kind of previously in committee. And then I think just kind of out on social media and some things that community members have been in touch with some committee members about. Let's see. So, Wallstrom, I guess I appreciate you getting back to me with a little more detail on recycling information. Colleagues, if you'll remember, we had a meeting about the renewal on the Waste Industries contract, and then Vice Chair Young was able to attend the Solid Waste Region Board, and so this committee has posed several questions with kind of the changing dynamic in the recycling market in the world. So we're going to work, I think, to kind of aggregate all this information that kind of came out of that last committee meeting. And so Ms. Wallstrom has done some additional analysis, so we'll try to kind of get that together and back out to the committee because I think it's something that we're all hearing the community has a lot of questions about. And there are some kind of transitions and contract renewals and things that have been happening of late. So thank you for getting that to me, and we'll continue with that as well. Last meeting or the meeting before, I had asked about the bike lane sweeper.
The water department, the stormwater department currently has that as part of their sweeper corp contract, and they are doing the bike lanes presently. That will transfer to Public Works in this next year, so we will be putting in a request for additional monies, operating monies, so that we can take over the sweeper.
Okay.
But we will still be using sweeping corp. We will just transfer the payment from water to Public Works.
Okay.
Is that all the sweeping? Not just the bike lane?
Sweeper Corp does all of the sweeping, but they also have the equipment to do just the bike lanes.
But will we be taking
You're taking it all over?
No, we are only taking over the bike lane portion of the cost.
Okay. And so at present, Sweeping Corp only sweeps streets that are curb and gutter. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously we have a fair amount of bike lanes that are out in our kind of GSD and otherwise that aren't curb and gutter, but are filled with gravel and trash. And
we are in the process of reconfirming the locations and making sure that they know all of our bike lanes that we're expecting to be swept and that they are indeed pursuing those.
Okay. All right. So let's stay in touch about this because, best I had understood last term, we had talked about whether or not that was a good kind of 4% fund for a particular piece of equipment that would do that. I understood that it was brought into the current contract, but I'm not seeing it, right? I mean, I think the bike lanes are replete, but I think that, the rotation, if you live in a neighborhood with curb and gutter, they're only coming through twice a year. Is that correct?
The bike lanes are being done with a different kind of equipment, and they're having to be transported from site to site. So it's not going to be exactly the same piece of equipment that's coming through twice a year on the curb and gutter.
Okay, but currently that's twice a year on curb and gutter.
It's monthly.
That would
monthly?
have, I'm not sure about that. That's Water's contract.
Okay, all right. Well, clearly there's some more questions to be answered on that, but I appreciate the update. Colleagues, I also, because there is some proposed legislation related to the sidewalk ordinance that was passed last term related to contribution in lieu and whether that goes into pedestrian benefit zones, 16 of those, or council district. That's Council Lady Roberts has some legislation around that. So I emailed Ms. Wallstrom today and asked that be shared with you, Sidewalk Committee Special Chair Ms. Benedict, Vice Chair Young, But basically to just have a report as to contribution in lieu for the last 2 years, just to see, what would that look like. And kind of, I think I'll get you some information out just about the rationale around those pedestrian benefit zones. So I've sent that to Ms. Wallstrom today, and she's going to follow up with us on that. And then I guess the next thing that we had requested information about that's a segue from the bike lane sweeper would be Demumbrian and what's going on with that project, please.
So Demumbrian Hill is a bike lane project that is under design. As you know, it's been under design for some time.
Yeah.
And that has to do with a development that came online or was introduced to us in the middle of that. So we had done some design work that put the bike lanes in the median on the left side of the road. And that would match what is happening coming out of Music Road through the roundabout, coming down Demumbrian Hill would keep them in the left side. The benefit to that is they don't get blocked by parking. And that's what's happening a lot of times there on Demumbrian Hill. It's where a lot of our complaints come in. In the middle of that, the site at the corner of 13th and Demumbrian began to be redeveloped. We got design plans, we got traffic studies for that, and so that changed what we were looking at a little bit. We had to make sure that the traffic impacts and the signaling and safety aspects of all of that were in line, and so we're continuing to work with that developer and with this project. So we've gone back and forth on a couple of things. We were in the middle. We had some advice that we might want to stay to the outside. We've looked at that. We had some initial correspondence with Metro Water about what the impacts of that would be. We also have very mature trees all along that segment, and so now we're back to the middle again. So it's been an iterative process to try and figure out what's the optimal design on that, and that's where we are.
Okay, so how long has that iterative process been?
It's been over a year. It's been over a year. So.
Yes. And what would be the effect of the various bike locations on mature trees? Would that necessarily be?
If we keep it in the middle, no effect, and that's one of the big positives to that. The downside to that is once we have cyclists in the median, up next to the median on the left side, we got to get them back to the outside of the road. So there's very acute signal needs and safety needs to doing that. And so bicycle signals are not something we have here in Nashville, so this is a new thing for us in thinking through all of those issues. So it's been developing a lot of that type of guidance to make sure we can do that safely.
Okay, so let me ask, we talk about kind of over a year, but basically when did we start this process? Are we using a contractor? What staff is working on it? Is it Mr. Bird in planning? Is it Mr. Radinger in public work? Like, I think the community wants to understand, complicated though it is, how it takes this long to do a project like this. There's been delay around the core bike lanes. I understand perhaps North Nashville is stalled. So, I mean, there's a lot of, I think, frustration around this space. So I think this committee wants to make sure as we move into budget season, just programmatically, how are we kind of systematizing, rolling out all this bike infrastructure that was anticipated in the Walk and Bike Strategic Plan, right?
From our side, all of this is overseen by Mr. Radinger, who is our bicycle coordinator. So he's got 3 projects under construction right now, North Nashville, which actually consists of 3 individual projects, being one of those, Division Street and South 19th, as well as he's responsible for all the other planning on 12th Avenue South and Belmont and Commerce and East Nashville Neighborways and a whole number of things. And so the attention he can give to any one project at any one time is limited, so we bring in consulting staff to help with that. And so the consultants that are working on Demumbrian Hill are the same consultants that are working on the development plan for the 13th and Demumbrian redevelopment. So that's a positive. They're working from the same, using the same consultant. So that's who's working on that.
Okay. So I think, I don't know, committee members, if you concur, and Mr. O'Connell, this is largely in your district, but, so I appreciate the responses here today, but I think we need to see really a much more detailed kind of accounting of all this and just
history.
Yes. So for all the bike lanes, so I think I had asked it, when designed, when started, when stopped, when started again, what was the target date for completion, what's the estimated cost, what are the actual costs so far, who are the contractors, all that on the bikeway program. So I appreciate you being here today and answering that. If any other colleagues have any questions about that? Yes,
Not
ma'am.
about the bike lanes, but
Okay.
sidewalks on those projects that have been delayed, installed as well. And
Yes.
you could get a status update.
I think what I'll share, if I may, is that I have got kind of a letter that I am going to send to the director that is similar, whether bikeways, sidewalks, the management of our paving program, just kind of 2020, new year, kind of catching everybody up so that colleagues will get a report and kind of a status update on, where is that sidewalk project that's had stakes in the ground for 2 years? Where is your bikeway, the road that was supposed to be paved 3 paving cycles ago, why hasn't it been paved? That kind of stuff. So I think as we kind of enter the new year, we're going to kind of ramp that up so that we've got a more kind of comprehensive report. You all are always welcome to ask questions in this committee, but I think maybe today, if we can kind of move on into the agenda, and we'll make sure that concern is addressed. Is that fair? Anything else about bikeways particularly, or Demumbrian colleagues?
I guess maybe less so with core bike lanes, but with North Nashville in particular, we've had a number of people express both confusion and concern about safety issues, and I don't know, I think it might be helpful to, especially in residential areas, I don't know if this would be an internal policy change or whatever, but to have some kind of community advisory that could be distributed when on-street markings are inconsistent with what the final design is going to be, because we've had people thinking there is basically a 2-lane speedway down Arthur Avenue for much of its length, and has resulted in legitimate safety concerns and some near misses. And, that's mostly because the project has been stalled for weeks now. So I would encourage Public Works to explore the possibility of some kind of community advisory if there's going to be a significant delay in a public project.
Right. And I think too, from a timeline standpoint, for Demumbrian, for example, you don't have those plates in the road and then the striping, and so, it was supposed to be December, and then it was supposed to be, so.
That's not related to the bike lane project.
Okay, understood, but I guess the convergence of how people on bikes are having to interact with that, so, I think from a communication standpoint, Courtney, I think we've got to do a better job of having a timeline for a project, and when we're not meeting that timeline, communicate to the community why we're not and what's the next marker, right? Not just like, it's taking a year, I don't know, those plates aren't ours, like it just, we've got to do better on communicating about this stuff and addressing the safety concerns in a more timely way.
Okay, well, if you all have specific ways that we can improve on that, feel free to reach out to me. You all know how to reach me. Respond to the email that Sissy sends you. I want to reiterate that email that she sends you every Friday has really valuable information in it, and I do encourage you to take a look at that. If there are ways that we can be more specific in that communication, let us know, and we can try to dive in on that. If you have questions related to any of the information in that, do respond, because that just helps us kind of, address concerns as they come up.
So I guess maybe another way of looking at this is, from a project standpoint, do you all typically know, is there some way to, for North Nashville in particular, right? Would that be an easy thing for Public Works to understand how many property owners are affected and how many of those are residentially zoned?
I mean, when you're, I don't want to try to make excuses here, but when you're looking at the sheer number of projects that Public Works is working on at any given time.
Right, but most of them are not in a significant delayed state.
That's true, but if you're just looking broadly at everywhere that we're working across the county, I think our ability to always know when things are running behind is somewhat limited.
Okay.
So it does help when you are hearing things, and I know you all have reached out and said, can I get an update on this? Can I get an update on this? That's really helpful for us. And I think it will help us refine our processes in the future. I think there's also an opportunity, if we do have contractors working on these projects, to have them be more collaborative with us in communicating as timelines start to slip a little bit. and us be able to, I guess, hold them to a little bit of a higher standard. So it is important. You all are kind of the boots on the ground in your district. You know what's going on in your district to communicate that to us. And I appreciate it when you do.
Yeah, and I know this is unfortunate timing. I just, even from reading those weekly emails, it wasn't necessarily clear that, hey, this is going to be stuck for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And, for multiple neighborhoods in District 19, it has been a source of frustration and confusion.
Yeah, and I know it's an issue all year. It is always particularly bad in the fall and winter as we get into rainier times. We think that we're going to be able to meet certain goals, and then it rains 4 days in a row, and Saturday and Sunday hit, and we're already a week behind on our timelines. That does tend to happen in fall and winter more often.
Lastly, by way of staff report, traffic calming is open as of yesterday,
Yes.
and the next application period closes when?
So January 24th is the last day for this application period.
One question that's come up in the community, I know I serve a fair amount of satellite cities. Obviously, those cities and people who reside in those areas cannot apply to this program. I also have HOAs that have a lot of streets, and they were thinking that they could apply the program, to which I said, no, you have a private street and you can't. And then I think the last outstanding question was if you have applied previously,
Yes.
how many cycles back do you not have to reapply? Could
So
you address that very quickly?
Program manager, Derek Haggerty, has reached out to every neighborhood that has applied so far. So dating back to January of last year, and said basically, do you want to resubmit your application? Do you want to update your application? So those neighborhoods are already considered grandfathered into this application window if they elected to be.
As of January of last year?
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate the update. Thank you. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I guess in connection to what Councilman O'Connell is talking about, I've gotten some concerns spoken to me in regards to District 21 and the Elizabeth Center, especially with the bike lanes and the lanes that have been put in the middle of the street, and that community center serves a large number of senior citizens. So it has become a very bad situation and concern for them. I know that they will be having a meeting sometime this week. They've spoken and plan to speak further with their Councilman Taylor, who I know is also probably reaching out to you, but I just wanted to make it a matter of record that Elizabeth Center is very concerned about the new lanes that have been put over there on Arthur.
I appreciate that. All right. Moving into our resolutions, RS 2020-155, Henderson and Hancock approves Amendment 1 to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metro Public Works Department to support the implementation of the 2015-2025 Solid Waste and Materials Management Plan to increase materials management, education, and outreach to the public. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, question?
Yes.
Can someone tell me what's included in that, and does that advance the zero waste, solid waste master plan?
It is just a matter of administrative language. It didn't change the crux of the grant or what we were trying to do with the grant. At this point, what we have tagged to use this for is for contamination and recycling, so that we can get to our zero waste and not have as much processing and
So no plastic bags, no.
Right.
Right.
no styrofoam containers.
What is the amount of the grant?
It's $50,000.
I think it's $50,000, right?
So it's already an in-progress grant, right? And this change is initiated by some language from the state?
Yes,
Like it's
it is.
just okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passed. RS 2020-156, O'Connell, Mendez, and others approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Works for the resurfacing and repairing of .788 miles of Fessler's Lane from State Route 1, Murfreesboro Pike, to State Route 24, Lebanon Pike. We have a letter to approve. Do I have a motion? Any questions?
I will say there will be many frequent travelers of Fessler's who will appreciate this project being completed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, RS 2020-157, Mendez and Henderson modifies the master list of architects and engineers originally approved by resolution number RS 94-1050. Let's see, we have a letter to approve from Councilman Mendez. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, and with that, I see Ms. Hernandez Lane, and I know you had some questions in Budget and Finance Committee. Colleagues who are new here, this process, the master list, raised some questions last term. And so I thought if Ms. Hernandez Lane could explain to the committee just briefly your process, updating that, and what kind of by charter we do in that regard.
Okay. We submitted a memo. I don't know if all the members of the committee received it, but really kind of outlining what that process is. If you look at the procurement regulations, define the process for establishment of the master list and for maintenance of the master list. To be included on the master list of architects and engineers is a requirement in order to be selected for a contract. So basically, Section 2 of the code, 2.08 something, says that we can't present to the mayor for signature a contract with an A&E firm who is not on the master list. So in order to be part of that competition, you really need to be a part of the master list. It does not award contracts. It's just simply a really old process that the city has in place for knowing who the architects and engineers are that we're doing business with, and some information about them. Where are their employees? How many employees do they have? What licenses do they have? Do they have insurance requirements that are required by Metro? That kind of thing.
So my question yesterday was,
And I'm sorry to cut you off. I am so sorry that I left right before your question. I sincerely apologize for that.
So I appreciate you being back. So just with regards to the Equal Business Opportunity
Yes, ma'am.
Office and how we can combine the needs there just to make sure that we are proactive in making sure that minority and women businesses are made aware that this thing exists and that they need to be on it. What kind of outreach happens?
Well, that's an excellent question. To be selected for a prime contract with the city, you must be on the master list of architects or engineers if it is a contract for engineering or architectural services. The Equal Business Opportunity Program is a subcontract-based program. So if any firms that are participating under the EBO, the Equal Business Opportunity Program, as a subcontractor are not on the list, it's really not a deal breaker because the law requires that the prime that they're doing business with be included on that list. But to the point, what we've begun doing in response to some degree to some feedback that we received from you, Council Lady Henderson, is to include language in every one of our solicitations that makes it very clear to anyone who wants to propose directly as a prime or even as a sub. I mean, they're going to look at those, RFPs because they're interested in understanding the requirements. But we include language in there that specifies that the prime contractor has to be included on the master list. What that does is it informs anyone who's looking at it. And then they contact us, they get additional information. And even if they're bidding as a subcontractor, they still get included on that master list at their request, because if they decide they want to bid at the prime or propose at the prime, it's in their benefit, it's to their advantage to already be on the list.
Right, so my questions are basically the same. How do we get those individuals on that master list?
There is a form that they need to complete. Anyone who wants to be included on the list could contact us or review the information that's in a solicitation. We are in the process of reviewing our website. Nashville.gov is moving from this platform that it's currently in into another one, but we're looking at how we provide that information out there as general information.
So is it possible for the small business list that you have, or the Suppliers Diversity Council, or some of the other community organizations, could you share that information so
Absolutely.
It can be distributed amongst those small businesses so they'll know that they need to be on there? Because the prime contract doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be multiple millions of dollars for them.
Absolutely. And just as a point of information to that, the vast majority of our small businesses and minority woman-owned businesses in the Nashville area are on the list. What we're seeing
But the list I saw was obviously very limited.
no, those were just the additions. Those were
Okay.
just the additions. The master list itself is significant.
Okay, right. I thought so,
Yeah.
but I was just concerned
Yeah.
about just seeing that small list.
Yeah, no, it's significant. Most of the firms are on the list. The only ones that are included in the memo were those who were asking to be added.
Okay.
And in one case, it's a maintenance issue where we identified a contract that had been awarded 3 years ago? 3 years ago to a firm that was not on the list. So we had to clean it up.
I think that was some of the concern last time is that, there was some cleanup and had we been proactive as a city about reaching out to a broad diversity of firms.
That's
There's a lot
right.
of new firms in this city from an engineering standpoint, and there had been some perception that, the work in the public works space kept going to the same people. And I think that was a little bit of a perception out in the community.
Right.
And so I think it was incumbent upon us to make sure that as updating this process, that we were really getting out there and saying, firms of this size and just.
This is how you do it.
How to do it. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Councilman O'Connell, then we'll.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. I guess just quickly, I know we have done some work around incentives that looks at kind of safety records. Is there do we gather that information? Is there any kind of screen for people that?
Yeah, to what extent they are screened before being on the master list?
The procurement regulations define the criteria that we are to consider when representing or presenting, I should say, someone for addition to the master list to you all. Again, I think it's 4 items: numbers of employees, location of employees, licensure, and I can't remember the 4th thing right off the top of my head. It's insurance. It's insurance, that they've got the coverages that are required. So if there were some additional items that would be of interest to kind of pre-screen, the procurement regulations are promulgated by the Procurement Standards Board. So that would be something that they would consider and add to those regulations.
So if there's been litigation or they've, been fraudulent or that kind of stuff.
Well, those are items that we already, consider in other places in the RFP for any contractor.
Right, and
But
I
if
guess
it
that's
was,
kind of been the confusion a little bit, is that, are you picking up that scrutiny at
Yeah.
that level? Or what, should you be on the list if you have defrauded our government, right?
yeah, if there are some specific items that you all would recommend to me that, we consider or that I present to the Procurement Standards Board for consideration and modified regulations, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you so much for being here. Any other questions related to the master list? Okay, so we have a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All righty, moving on to BL 2009, bills on second reading. Bill 2019-76, Murphy and Henderson amends the Metro Code to require parking and emergency access plans for parades, special events located outside of the downtown area. Is Council Lady Murphy here?
She was just in public safety and has deferred that indefinitely.
Indefinite deferral in public safety. Okay,
Yes.
great. I had understood from Council Lady Murphy that she intended to defer the bill. I just did not know the extent to which the bill was being deferred. Okay, so do I have then a motion?
Move to defer.
Okay.
Indefinitely.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
I hope it's good.
Okay. Continuing with bills on second reading, BL 2019-109, O'Connell, Henderson, and Allen amends the Metro Code of Laws and substitute ordinance BL 2019-1658 regarding shared urban mobility devices. This, colleagues, in your email today, this is one that I mentioned to you, has 2 proposed amendments, both from Councilman Nash and Councilman O'Connell. And so I guess I will entertain
Motion to defer 1 reading.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think that'll give us some time to consider both your amendments.
We're gonna, and we need to do some reconciliation between the original bill and my submitted amendment, so
Okay.
I'm gonna look to do that, meeting with the administration in between, and we'll come back and examine the stated amendments at that point.
Okay, I appreciate that. So we have a motion to defer 1 meeting. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. And then last item on our agenda, BL 2019-112, Sledge, Murphy, and others, changes the name of Gray Street to 3rd Avenue South. You have a letter to approve from the sponsor.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.